Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I said hey guys in the first take and I realized I need to not do that. So hello, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to run through what is in my bag, as quite a few people have asked, but also what tweaks I would make to it to kind of optimize it for a player at my level. If you are new here, that level is very much average. I am currently a 13 handicap, down from a 19 about 6 months ago. And again, if you are new here, welcome to the channel. I am Joel. I am in the middle of a golf life crisis, having taken up the game late in life and become utterly obsessed with getting better and doing everything I can to do so, which is what I'm documenting here with the hope that it might also be interesting or perhaps informative and helpful in your golf life and your golf game. So today is, as I say, a bit of a what's in the bag and also a bit of a what I would change if I could, or how I would tweak this setup for someone of a kind of 13, 14, 15 mid-handicap level, because quite a few of these clubs I bought earlier in my golfing life and things have changed, thankfully for the better, since then. So we will start with the bottom of the bag and work our way up. So first things first, and fairly simply, are wedges. Now I've got the Vokey SM10s, and frankly, the setup I have now, I wouldn't really change a thing. I will say, caveat, I have not been fitted for these, so they probably could be optimized more in terms of bounce and grinds. But as far as the wedges themselves, they are obviously excellent, being Vokeys. They spin well, they are good for controlling flight, distances, that kind of thing. And the lofts that I have now, I'm very happy with. I've got a 60, a 54, and a 50 degree. The lesson that I learned from earlier wedge setups was that I didn't have the right lofts. I initially went 60, 56, 52, and that for me wasn't good gapping because there was just too much space between my pitching wedge and my 52. So I would say for me, and probably for a lot of kind of higher or mid-handicap golfers, you're probably likely to have a fairly strongly lofted pitching wedge, because most sets of kind of game improvement or higher handicap irons do. Pitching wedge could be anything as much as like 44, maybe even 43 degrees of loft in some cases. So if you go from that to a 52 degree gap wedge, you are going to have a very big gap before your wedges. So I would suggest going with something stronger like a 50 or maybe even a 48 in your lowest wedge and then building up from there. But in terms of these wedges themselves, the SM10s are fantastic. And for me right now, I wouldn't change a thing. Irons wise, I have the Takomo 101s. Now, I have done a whole separate video on what I think about the 101s and why I switched to these from the much more expensive and custom fitted Titleist T350s. So do check that out if you're interested. In short, I absolutely love these clubs. The performance difference has been completely negligible from a set of irons which cost 2.5 times as much, and for which I was fitted, and obviously I've not been fitted with these because you can't really get custom fitted for the Takomos. So the fact that I was able to save a bunch of money, even selling the T350 secondhand, and go to these has been a good thing. I love these, they feel great, they look fantastic, which is not the most important thing in an iron or indeed a golf club, but for me, I do value that quite highly. Now, what would I change? I think honestly, there is a chance that these come out of the bag in the next 6 months or so, solely because I want to get fitted for a new set of irons. These are probably more game improvement than I need in my game right now. I would like something which has slightly better turf interaction, if that doesn't sound too wanky, and possibly something which has a little bit more consistency of distance, because these are quite powerful. But I have no complaints with these, and I would say if you're at a higher handicap level or a mid-handicap level, these are absolutely an excellent choice. If I were to stick with the Takomos now, I would probably go with the 201s, which are the cavity-backed forged irons. But I think probably the next step for me is to go and get an iron fitting and see what it comes out with. I have very little brand loyalty or preconceptions of what I want, although they do have to look nice. So that is probably the step that I will next make with my irons. Next up from there is hybrid, and I currently have the QI10 Max 3 hybrid, which is 20 degrees of loft. Now this is where I made an error, and I will make a change, or I wish I had done something different. So if you are a high handicap or mid-handicap golfer in the market for something in this area of the bag, then this might be some good advice for you as well. So I didn't get fitted for this, which I think was a big problem and a big mistake, because I think I have ended up with the wrong shaft. Now, I'm not going to be the workman just blaming his tools here, but this club just goes left on me in a way which nothing else in my bag does, and I have a very difficult time keeping this remotely in the direction that I want it to go, again, in a way which is not really found with most of the other clubs in my bag. So I do think there is at least some part of that, which is the club and not me, or at least the relationship between us is just not what it should be. Now, I've heard a lot of people say lots of good things about the QI10 hybrids and fairway woods, so I'm not saying they're not for everyone. I think what happened here is that I just wanted a hybrid, bought a hybrid, and sort of guessed at what the right shaft would be, which was obviously not the most sensible thing in the world to do.
What are you, an idiot?
The change I'm looking to make at the moment actually is to move away from hybrids and potentially go for something like a utility iron or a driving iron. TBC on that at the moment. I do think hybrids are very good clubs for mid and high handicap golfers, but what I would say when you're getting into anything at the top end of your bag, fitting is particularly important, and it's not necessarily about the club head, but it is definitely something that you want to look at in terms of the shaft, the flex, the weight, and all that kind of thing. Thankfully, I have avoided a similar issue with my 3-wood, which is again a QI10 Max. However, I didn't get fitted for this, but I did get fitted for the driver, and they kind of gave me the specs for the shaft should I want to get the 3-wood as well, which I did a couple of months later. So I have absolutely no issues with this. It's a very good club. 3-wood's not necessarily the easiest thing in the world to hit, but I hit this as well as I think I could expect to. It goes a pretty good distance, and I'm generally very, very happy with this. So I would say anything in the QI family, it will be good. But again, if you haven't had a driver fitting, or you don't know the shaft that you should be getting for something like a 3-wood or a 5-wood, I would definitely find that out before you spend the money. And then driver QI10 Max, so not the latest TaylorMade model, but the previous years, and this is in 10.5 degrees of loft. Now, I did get fitted for this, and I was initially very happy with it, but despite it being fitted to me, this is something that I am looking to change probably sooner than anything else in my bag, and that is because my swing has changed quite a lot since I got this club. So I've had this for over a year now. I got it pretty much as soon as it came out, and at the time I was kind of a 19-20 handicap. Obviously that's come down since, but also my swing has just changed quite a lot since then. And this really isn't working for me anymore. Again, I don't think it's an issue particularly with the head, which is fine. Obviously it has a fair degree of forgiveness with the 10K MOI, but the shaft is just not working for me. I find it very difficult to time at the moment, and the dispersion pattern, which was pretty predictably in one direction for a long time, is now a big two-way miss, and that is obviously very hard to manage. So the advice here is not necessarily don't buy QI10, because I think they're excellent clubs, but get fitted for your current level and your current swing. If that does change, I think the only thing to do, if you can afford it and have the willingness to do so, is just get another fitting, which is something I have been putting off because obviously drivers are very, very expensive, but I think ultimately this is starting to hold me back. And if I was being completely honest with myself, I think the thing that is holding me back from being maybe a single figure handicapper right now, or at least shaving another couple of strokes off that handicap, is the driver. And so I think if I do want to get down to that point, I may just have to bite the bullet and get something new. Oh, woe is me. And then putter, this is the Scotty Cameron 7.5. So it's the 7 head with the slant neck, which is the 0.5. And I'm really, really happy with this. Now, I may have gotten lucky because, again, didn't get fitted for it. Back when I bought this, I rather thought that putter fittings weren't that important and putters were not just putters, because I realized there's a lot of difference between blades and mallets and shapes and things like that, but I didn't necessarily think a custom fitting was that important. However, I've since come to learn, or at least come to listen to several club fitters say that of all the things in the bag, this might be the most important to get fitted for. However, I really just wanted a mallet putter, and obviously Scotty Camerons are beautiful, and this shape was the one that kind of fitted my eye the best. I did try it out in the shop quite a few times, even though it wasn't fitted to me, and I've actually just been really, really happy with it. I had a blade before with a very kind of spongy, soft insert. I really didn't like the feel of it, and I found that for distance control, it just didn't work for me, and also for my putting style, which is a bit more straight back, straight through, rather than particularly arced. So a mallet with a milled face was the way I wanted to go, and ultimately this has been a great putter, and I've really, really enjoyed it. I guess the through line of advice of get fitted applies to this as well. But if you can't, or you just don't want to for a putter, then I would at least say go to a shop and try a bunch out, see what sits well for your eye, see what feels good in terms of weight, and maybe go from there to at least make something of an informed decision. And that's it. That is my current setup. Do I think it is the ultimate mid-handicap bag? Not necessarily, although I think there is a lot to like in there. There are some tweaks that I would make, but I would certainly recommend the wedges. I think the Tacoma irons are a great starting point, certainly in terms of looks and price, if you want to buy something new rather than secondhand. And with the woods, I don't think there's any harm in going back a generation if you want to save a bit of money, but I would say that getting fitted in terms of identifying the right shaft is super important, and that is something that I wish I had done, and I'm probably going to quite literally pay the price for not doing in terms of having to upgrade or tweak a couple of the clubs in my bag. Thanks for watching. Please do drop a like if you enjoyed the video and subscribe to the channel. I am putting out new videos every week if you want to follow along with my golf journey and hopefully pick up some things that might help you with yours. See you in the next one.